Hey there, everybody. Thanks for being here. This is Carrie with Unleashed. I'm here with my friend Brandon Straza. He was one of the very first people I talked to about interviewing on this show, except we're, I don't know, 10 plus episodes in and finally making it happen. We both had to cancel a couple times here and there. So, Brandon is founder of The Naked Agent. It's a business insurance company, and I am going to let him explain it.
All right. Well, so founder of American Option Insurance Group. I started it in our house in the great state of Florida. Since then, we're now in 9 states, and I reside out of Dallas, Texas. A couple of years ago, I realized from an insurance perspective, because we did home, auto, boat, life, we were a broker, and it's not a sexy industry, but we didn't bring a lot of value to people we consider business partners, people sending us business. So I came up with the idea of something called the Naked Agent. I'm an insurance agent. The naked part was how could we highlight them and bring value as opposed to a gift basket or a lunch, just something different, but also that was provocative thinking, because that's what sells in a lot of different circles. And so came up with a Naked Agent, and we're almost 2 years into it. It's taken me all over the country. And because of it, I've traveled overseas. I would never have met someone like you, Carrie. Because of that, I interviewed someone by the name of Travis Chappell that you and I both know, and has been an unbelievable person in our lives. And it's taken me to interview Ryan Serhant for $1 Million Listing if you watch Bravo TV. So it's been really cool, and we had a lot of naysayers in the beginning, but it's helped grow our business immensely, and it has spawned. Because of that, I always look at the subsets. It's spawned 2 other businesses to this day. So yeah, that's the journey of American Option and the Naked Agent.
And I love seeing the growth. And I know that one of the, I don't know if you call it businesses or programs or whatever that you're working on right now has come out of the mastermind that we're in together. And it's just been great to watch you and the other people we know just constantly on that path to growth. So you're here because you have a crazy school story. Let's start there.
Yeah. So school was really never my forte. I didn't like it. It was a path and ends to a means because it was required. I had a brother that was not only unbelievable collegiate athlete, but also, or high school athlete, I should say, but also salutatorian of his class. I had a sister who was a collegiate athlete, and that paves a lot of ways when you're good at something. And she was unbelievable. She's my business partner. She's just a couple doors down from here on the insurance company. And all I wanted to do was work. I remember finding any jobs possible before, where I could just get paid here and there. And then eventually when I was, while I was still in high school, I'm like, listen, college isn't for me. By the way, just fast forward, I did finish college thanks to my mom, to have that piece of paper. But there was a particular teacher. I was fortunate that because of my last name, and it didn't mean that we were anybody in our town, but because I had a brother who was really good in school, and I had a sister who was really good in sports, maybe that paved a certain thing for me. But I was told from my high school algebra teacher, and I can still picture it. I can picture the classroom and where I was sitting, second row, about a quarter of the way in from the back. And she looked at me and she said, listen, your brother was salutatorian, great at school, was going to the University of Illinois at that point. Your sister, she ended up being number 3 in the world when it came to junior golf. Sergio Garcia and her won the same junior golf tournament at one point. She's like, you don't get it. School's not for you. You're not going to amount to anything like this. It's not going to work for you. And I remember sitting there. I remember the calculator that I had and the pleather case that went over it. And it was a head scratcher for me. I knew I liked to work. I knew I liked to make money, but I'm like, I just had someone in education tell me that school's not for you. You're not going to amount to anything. And I didn't even go and tell my parents. I don't think they knew this until a few years ago when I actually opened up and talked about it. I'm like, well, shit. Am I allowed to say that?
It's fine. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Maybe she's right, and that's okay. I don't need to get school. I need to get the diploma. I need to get through that, and I can just start working. So it had a huge impact, but the one thing that it has done, and like I said, I did end up going to college. I went to 4 colleges, graduated in 4.5 years, because college wasn't for me, but I was convinced to get that piece of paper. I do look at continuing education a lot differently today, especially with one of the companies that I'm looking to build out. But it shaped me in the aspect that I'm going to be told no. And if I was told no, and this was probably about the age of 16 or 17, if I'm going to be told no at this point in time, it's going to continue to happen. Now, here's the kicker to it all. I didn't share that with anyone, and I was a pretty introverted person at that point, and it really could have taken me down a dark path, and maybe it did, from time to time. But I use that as fuel to this day to remember that in my teen years, to have someone of authority looking at me and telling me this, like, screw this, screw that. Like, I don't have to live by their rules. I don't have to live by that. And success isn't going to be defined by algebra.
I wonder if your teacher said that to you, I wonder what that teacher or other teachers said to your parents. Do you have any idea?
I don't. At the time, so it would be parent at the time. My mom and dad loving together today, but my father lived in Florida, financial circumstances, and we lived in the Midwest at that point. So I have no idea. I believe that my mom would have chewed her head off, spit it out, and shoved it somewhere else if she had ever been told that. My father, same thing, maybe just a little different resources at that point. But as far as I know, my parents knew that I didn't like school. I didn't want to be in school. I wanted to go earn money. I was working 3 jobs at one point in college. Number one, to help pay for college, but number two, just because I wanted to work and make money.
Where did that come from? The work and make money? Was it you had your eyes set on money, or you liked working?
I liked working. I saw my dad, and growing up, again, love my father, but I didn't get to see him a lot. If we wanted to see him, we had to go to the restaurant. In the 80s, when the economic crisis hit, that didn't help our family business, amongst other things. And so, but I always saw him working, and I'm like, well, listen, that's a sign of success. If I work hard and I'm constantly working, I'm sure money comes with that. And we did fall on financial hardships to an extreme measure at one point. So I'm like, I don't want to get in that position. I don't want to put my family, I don't want to put myself in that position. So seeing how hard my dad worked, seeing how hard my mom had to go work to be able to put food on the table, and money was created from that, not exponential wealth, but seeing hard work pay off, I'm like, well, this is how it's got to be done. What does it matter? Get off your butt, go do something, go figure it out.
Is your mindset still the same now around hard work and money?
Absolutely. I've got some people, not many now, that tell me as I've started, another business, and we're building out what I believe is going to be our biggest one yet on a global level. Now I just have people sitting there saying, how are you juggling this? And this is what I learned on the juggling aspect. As you build out other businesses, you got to find people that like, and trust, that have the same mentality, and that can sit there and help you become better at the areas that you're not the expert in. It's okay. I made the mistake at one point thinking I had to be the expert in everything. And in the first company, that hindered me for a long time, thinking I had to do everything. So as I've been building out the other ones, no, find the people that are the best in it, pay for it, get them as a business partner, equity position, whatever it is, because I'd rather have 5% of something than 100% of nothing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And the whole getting people to help you. And I think building your business like that from the beginning. I was trying to do everything myself too, and I'm slowly getting other people on board. And now I'm at the point where, man, I want to click a button that's like the solopreneur starter pack that starts you literally from 0 to 100 with an email address and everything integrated, your social media and everything. And all I have to do is create the content. Like, I'm getting so into the weeds with all these pieces of things that I missed along the way and I need to go back and fix now, and something that got screwed up, and like I don't have time to do what I do best, and it's driving me nuts.
Yeah, I think that's where we get stuck a lot of the time is again trying to be everything to everyone and have that control factor on there. Here's the thing. Money does not hurt to get there. It says that money can't buy happiness. It could sure help you get in certain places and in certain doors a lot quicker and get you to the front of the line at Disney World a lot quicker. And that aspect or that mentality also gets you at the front of the line on who you know. So yeah, if you have the financial capability and you believe in what you're doing and you can rally the people around you, like that's the biggest thing. If you believe in your message, it's amazing what people will go and bleed for you. Not literally. I hope not.
Well, you know, I was hiring someone to do some Facebook ads for me, and man, I did not realize this was going to be such a process. Like, this is where I've gotten stuck in the weeds. I thought like, oh, I'm hiring someone, it's going to make it easier for me. I'm like, nope, there's so many things I have to do. But this person I picked, you know, I don't think he has a reputation or whatever. And, you know, I'm not really at that point anyway, but I picked him because he seemed to be excited about my message and respond to it in a way that none of the other people I talked to did. To the other people, I was just some girl who wanted to run Facebook ads. Maybe I wasn't really at that stage yet. But he was like excited about my message, kind of understood my market, which I thought was crazy because he's not from the US. But like he got it. So I was like, okay, this sounds good. So
yeah, it's and this is not to put a sour note on anything. I tell you, I've had people that like they rally around you, and then all of a sudden you find out you're like, all right, well, you explained to them or sold them on why they should, and they at the same time. And then there are times, I'll be honest with you, it's happened to me financially. It's happened to me from a business perspective. You can still get burned. But if your only excuse for not doing it is I got burned, then you shouldn't be doing it to begin with. I mean, I got burned, lost all my retirement. And at that point, when I was probably 30, 31, it was in the six figures. And so for me at that point that like, I'm like, hey, this is, and lost it all to a Ponzi scheme. The only reason I say is like, you can find people that you trust. You can find people that will rally around you, and you're still going to get taken advantage of from time to time.
Yeah. Yeah. You're going to fail. You're going to screw up, and you just got to keep going. And I think that's a message that's so important that we need to communicate to our young people. And I don't know what your school experience was like with this, but I feel like at school we do such a horrible job of communicating that message. You know, we give them a test or a writing assignment or a project, and we expect them to do great the first time. And when they don't, well, we're moving on anyway.
Well, you know, and one of the gentlemen that I'm in business with, he works for us on the other end. He was a collegiate professor, and I still sit there, and he and I will have conversations from his teaching days. What does school really teach us? It teaches us that we can actually show up on time. It shows us that we can get to the next class, we can listen to someone, and we can do an orderly process. Beyond that, like, what is it that education does for us? Like, that's where you're saying, like, when it comes to parenting or being around people, like, we've got a 5-year-old, and I'm told sometimes that we're a little too hard on him, but I expect so much because he'll be afforded certain opportunities that maybe other children won't. And it's his responsibility. It's our responsibility to pass it on to him, to have appreciation, understand what's really happening out there, whether it's from a school level. School's job is to help teach my son some things, but it's my job to make sure that he continues those things. It's not their job to raise my child. So I think it's us as adults that we need to teach, continue teaching the new generation, the current generation, the future, you know, all the different generations. You got to go do it. You got to implement. You can't just wait and see what happens. Like, go all in.
Yeah. I actually had a lot of people telling me, like, don't do Facebook ads. It doesn't work. You know, you're not really at that level yet. But I'm going at it not because I'm expecting to make $1 million in sales. I'm going at it because I need some kind of information. And I don't know where else I'm going to get that information. So that's where I'm starting it. I'm running it to see like, hey, am I saying the right thing? Like, did someone click on that ad? That tells me I said something right.
Mm-hmm.
If nobody clicks on it, well, then I didn't say something right. And I need to figure out what I'm supposed to be saying.
Yeah. You're looking for data. And the fact that you're willing to go in and say, listen, I'm not looking at this from a sales perspective. Now, you are, because you're looking at that data and then what it can provide you in the future, but you're willing to put yourself out there to see for when that day is, when you're like, all right, listen, these messages did work, these messages didn't work. And so how do I resonate and how do I tailor it? How do I retarget that message to and retarget that group to make sure? So to me, I think that's more than what some people will ever say, because you've already gotten past the excuse.
Yeah. I'm not looking at it to win right away. If I do, hey, great. Who's going to complain about that? But I'm looking at it from a learning experience. It's just a lot more involved than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I think someone needs, whoever's listening to this, what Carrie said, if there is the package, the entrepreneur in a box, which gets all the, here are the 10 things that we'll set up for you within the first 48 hours. There you go. I think it's an awesome business plan.
Yeah. So anyone listening, because a couple weeks ago on the show, I totally threw out another business idea to somebody. I was like, somebody please do this.
I will pay.
Yeah. They teach you how to set up your business and they teach you all the parts separately, but I would love just a package. Yep. Maybe it's out there, but how social media plays with your website and your ClickFunnels, if you have that, and your ads and your whatever, like just give me an email address and put it in everything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not designed. If it was designed to where you could just go through the McDonald's drive-through and say, hey, I'd like a double quarter entrepreneur package with a bank account, then everybody would probably be doing it. And then it wouldn't separate the who's doing from the who's, not going across that line. So, but when that day comes, you'll have someone on your team at some point, and like you do now, for the Facebook ads, and you'll have someone on your team that sets up that next business or corporation that you're doing.
Yeah. So back to what you said about school being required. That really caught my attention because I was working with a client the other day. Are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Something happened on my computer.
Oh, I hear you.
Okay. I was working with a client the other day, about to graduate high school, and we were doing more mindset stuff, not academic stuff. And I did the exercise of what you want more in your life, what you want less in your life, and then what's holding you back from making those things happen. And his responses were pretty typical. I want a good paying job. I want less school, because a lot of teenagers are like, hey, I'd love to not have to go to school. But in the more of category, he said, I want to learn what I want to learn. Mm-hmm. So I said, okay, what do you want to learn? And he goes, I want to learn how to make money. And that just reminded me of exactly what you said about school being required and wanting to make money. And then I was kind of wrestling with myself as, the guiding adult, like, well, gee whiz, can I send this kid over to 4-hour work week? Or the parent's going to be like, no, my kid's supposed to go to college, and I'm starting to have these arguments with myself of how do I navigate these waters and show the families all of the options.
Yeah, no, it's very well said. And you and I are both parents. So we definitely know that we're not experts, but we have valid thoughts and opinions when it comes to it. So yeah, school is required until a certain age. After that, it's optional. And I think it's a great thing that it's optional. Now, would I trade in the college years that 4.5 years, would I trade those in? No. I met some unbelievable people. One of them recently was going to be a business partner. They aren't now today. But I met some really, really cool people, and it was great. Like when I look back, I'm like, oh, yeah, I was working 3 jobs: a restaurant, golf course, scrubbing clubs, and at the career center doing people's resumes. Don't know how they allowed me to do people's resumes. But I was doing all three of those and doing a full load of school. And a year and a half ago, maybe almost 2 years ago, I would have sat there and said, my son will be going to college. He will go on a specific path. Now, if he wants to be, X, Y, or Z in school, I get it. If he's like, Dad, I want to go for something that, I want to go to be a musician, I'd probably sit there and say, no, go to Juilliard or something, which is a real institution, obviously, as well. But I would have sat there and said, you got to go to school. And I would have pushed for business school. Today, a year and a half or so later, I don't know if that's going to be the answer. So if he goes on the traditional path, he's got approximately 13 years left before he would be ready for college, unless he's like Doogie Howser, and then, that's cool. But there's so many different opportunities out there now. There's so many different ways to learn. I think there's better ways to learn, more affordable ways to learn. And again, I'm not saying the collegiate route is not the option. I'm just sitting there saying that my mind has already shifted by meeting with people like Gerard Adams and Ronsley and Steve Sims, and the list goes on, that school is not necessarily going to be A, affordable, and B, a necessity to be successful. We already know. You look at people like Zuckerberg, he did a little bit of college. You look at Gerard Adams, did, a little, but it's not required. You don't have to be successful. And so I think through masterminds, I think through podcasts, I think through YouTube, you can learn so much. Now, YouTube, last time I checked, that's free, and you can learn a lot from there. Go to LinkedIn. I think it's an untapped source. You can learn a lot from there. So there's all these free places. And then there's some paid ones, but it's not at the cost of a college education. So we'll see. I've got, 13 years possibly to see where my son's going to, end up on this. And hopefully I can show him this in 13 years. You're like,
yeah.
See?
I think about that all the time for my kids, because I also want to be really cautious not to give an unfavorable viewpoint of higher education. And who knows? Will the system even be around when our kids are old enough to be in it? I don't know. I question that. So I want to be prepared to the fact that life might look really different by the time our kids are at that age. I want to be prepared for the fact that maybe that's the track they're going to take, and that's great. Or that, maybe it's not. And I don't know how to communicate that as a parent. And that's something that needs to be communicated right from the beginning. You don't wait until your kid's 18.
No, you and I aren't. And I think a lot of other parents are, and I can't speak for it, but today's parents that are raising today's generation, I don't think that they're waiting for that conversation piece right there. I'm already planning on that. College will be there, but I'm working on a business that is going to help other ones thrive and promote them. If college isn't the way where they can find those paths through masterminds and podcasts and those different channels in one central location. So I believe that my son's going to see us build something that shows that it's not required and how much easier it is to find. You and I were lucky. Let's be honest. The mastermind that you and I are in, at the end of the day, I went off of someone's word. You went off of someone's, and what if it didn't pay off? It has, but what if it hadn't? So I think having access to knowing more of what really works out there is key. And that's how we should raise our children, is to let them know that there's access to more things out there than just one path.
How are you doing that now? Like, do you have an example or at least a guiding principle you're using?
With our son?
Yeah.
Yeah. That guiding principle has definitely changed in the last 2 years. I kind of always go back to my eyes changed and have continuously changed because of the naked agent. And a couple of years ago, I'll give you, for example, Zach, who is an unbelievable person. A couple of years ago, my wife wanted to put our son in dance. And I'm just like, no son of mine. Now, I was not, a huge football player or anything, but no son of mine is going to be doing dance. And boy, I had a really bass-ackwards mentality on that. And it was just like, what? So where I'm getting at with this is, by allowing our son to try whatever he wants, And if he likes it and he's good at it, then he can do it. If he doesn't, but giving him the opportunity to try a lot of different paths and not saying you have to go play soccer, you have to go play baseball, you have to go do this. Now he plays soccer, he does dance, he does gymnastics, swimming, he does different things. So if we give him a world of opportunity to where he can see the different paths that he can choose at this age, then I think as he gets older, he'll understand why he was able to have all those, different extracurricular activities. Now he sat there the other day. He said to me, or last night, I picked him up at the ballet studio, and he says, "Daddy, I want to do kid kinetics." And I said, "Well, buddy, that costs more money, and you're already doing the cooking class at the Montessori school." I said, "Well, what do you mean it costs more money?" I'm like, "Buddy, it costs more money." He said, "Well," and I can't remember the kid's name at the school. He said, "Well, Bob," and we'll just call him Bob. I'm sure the kid's name's not Bob. Well, Bob gets to do kid kinetics and does the cooking one. So he gets to do more than one. I said, "Well, that's great. Do you know if Bob's also doing swimming and dance and gymnastics and soccer and getting to go to DC to go see the monuments here in the next week?" He said, "Well, no, I don't know." I said, "Well, here's the thing. Bob doesn't know that you do that. And you don't know whether Bob does that." So I said, "You've got a lot on your plate, buddy. Things cost money. So let's just be happy for what we have. And maybe there's some things that you're doing that Bob's not, and vice versa. Doesn't matter." And he's like, "Okay, Daddy." Now, maybe that sunk in, or maybe he's just tired of hearing me talk. But if our son really wanted to know, he'll just keep asking. Like he won't stop until he's satisfied with an answer. So that was that's the way that I know that we're already teaching him and helping him along the way to know that there's going to be other opportunities.
Yeah, my kids are definitely, at least my 4-year-old is definitely in that stage of consumerism is just getting to her.
Mm-hmm.
She sees things, she wants to buy everything, and we don't even watch that much TV. They do watch some TV, don't get me wrong. But like, where are they even getting this from? Where's this consumer culture coming from? Because we don't really go to stores. We don't shop. They're not in front of ads that much. But I mean, I guess it's coming at them from somewhere.
Well, let me ask you this, and something, because we don't watch a lot of TV in our house. Don't have cable, don't watch a lot of TV, and the stuff that we do is educational typically, or sports. And kids he's like an ESPN announcer already. When they're, I'm guessing, do they have an iPad?
Yeah, the only thing they do on the iPad is what they call the Bear game, which is Khan Academy for kids.
Khan Academy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Brilliant what he's done. Liam will come to us occasionally and be like, "I haven't gotten to do Khan Academy in a while." We're like, great,
Yeah.
So if they're doing that, then there's not. I was just curious if maybe ads were coming across, like if they were watching YouTube Kids or something. But I don't know.
The only time they're ever allowed on YouTube is if I am right there with them, because I just never know where it's going to go.
Yeah, our son was able to be on YouTube Kids, and then we saw some stuff that I'm like, this isn't even appropriate for kids 10 years older than him. Like, this is horrible. And I'm like, all right, no more of that.
Though, maybe that's where it came from, because we did go through a phase where my daughter, and I totally let this happen, and I cannot believe I'm the mom that let this happen, but to brush her hair, I let her watch a video on YouTube. And it was, the slime videos or the I'm going to paint a princess videos. And I guess some of it just came from there. It never even occurred to me that was part of the deal, but I bet it was.
Could be. I mean, think about what they talk about with their friends. They hear everything we're talking about. So one thing that we've learned, at least with Liam, and he's similar age as your daughter, they're listening to everything we say, and they get a lot more than we think that they do. So, like, what if they got it from us, just from conversations, and then they're piecing little different segments together, and they're like, why don't I have this?
Yeah. And I've had so many of my friends use the words like, we literally have to keep up with our neighbors. I didn't think people thought that way, but I actually hear people say it. Their kid is in all these activities, or they're doing this, or they're doing that. And they feel like they need to keep up.
Keep up with the Joneses.
Yeah. Yeah. And I really didn't think that people actually thought that way, because I have never thought that way. But people really do.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I don't, like, at least in my neighborhood, I don't believe that that's the case per se. But I can sit there and say, we've allowed, social media, everything's at our fingertips. So we expect more, whether we earn it or not. And so by able to see that someone's out to a nice dinner, to see that someone's being interviewed on something. I mean, like someone could sit there and be like, well, damn, why isn't someone interviewing me? Well, why don't I get to go out to this meal? So I think I think the world has a case of keeping up with the Joneses. Not everybody, obviously, but have you ever had jealousy? I know I've had jealousy creep in, like, damn, why isn't that me? I'm like, well, wait a minute, I didn't earn that.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say jealousy. I will sometimes beat myself up for not being further along in my business because I'm comparing myself to people who are farther along or who have more time. And I'm choosing very specifically not to have a ton of time for my business because my family is my number one priority because I can never get back that time. We've thought about, so our plan is to homeschool. And my kids were my one child was in daycare like 2 days a week. And now they're in 2 days a week. We tried to pull them out. We just literally needed more time. So they're in 2 days a week. And I keep thinking, if I just did a month of 5 days a week, I'd be good. And then I keep reminding myself like, no, really, I won't be good. Will I get more done? Sure. But I'm still going to have a never ending to-do list and I'm never going to get back that time. And that time for me with my family is always priority. And then I schedule my time of when I'm going to work on my business and it makes my progress slower. And sometimes it drives me nuts, but I'm never going to get back that time with my family.
No, time's the one thing that we cannot get back. Like, you can go buy a lot of things in life, but you cannot buy time. Mother Nature, she is Father Time, Mother Nature, whatever you want to call it, is batting 1,000%.
When I texted you right before this meeting, I was like, hey, I'm running a couple minutes late. It's because my 2-year-old was on my lap. She was being overly clingy. There was a TV show on. I knew I could have put her on the couch and it probably would have been fine until my husband walked in the door a couple minutes late. I was like, she really just wants to be on my lap right now, and it was just, I knew in that moment, I just had to tell you to wait a couple minutes.
Yeah. And you were just like, hey, you weren't telling me anything. You're just like, hey.
Yeah.
And I get that. I mean, it's why wouldn't someone? And Liam's the same way. Like if he starts becoming clingy, that usually means he's coming down with something. We're like, uh-oh. My wife's always the first. She's like, he's coming down. I'm like, no, he's not. And then like 2 hours later, I'm like, yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. And it was just so uncharacteristic of her. And I wasn't going to give that moment up.
Yep.
So your parents were entrepreneurial, right? And that kind of spread to you because you started out not on that path. You started out with, what we call a day job.
Yeah.
So what changed in your mindset or whatever it is, your goals to get you back on that entrepreneurial path?
Yeah, it was really my best friend and business partner and spouse. And that's all the same person, by the way, I should say. When we met, she knew I had all these hopes and dreams and I could do this, that, and the other. And I just remember sitting in the pool with her and she finally just looked at me. She's like, shit, or get off the pot. Like either start implementing and I'll stand behind you. And we didn't have our son at that point. Or listen, the path you're choosing is going to be over there, but I'm tired of hearing what you could and can't do. And so it was really her telling me to stop talking and thinking big and dreaming big and do it.
That's so funny. Very much the same in our house. So we lived in an RV for a year, if no one knows. And my husband just kept talking about tiny houses. And I was like, all right, if you want a tiny house, we got to go in one. What's the easiest way to go in one? Go in an RV. There was an RV show. So he goes to I told him he had to go into an RV before he could even think about buying a tiny house, right? He had it all specced out and he knew what he wanted and where we were going to buy it from. I'm like, go into an RV. So he did. And he texted me from the RV show. I remember because I was with a client. I remember exactly where I was at the time. And he goes, you really need to come see these things. I was like, oh my God, like, no. But I went to humor him and I walked into the RV and I was like, oh my God, yes, this is nicer than my house. We're getting one. And then we still talked about it for another year. And finally, I was like, okay, you keep looking at RVs. We keep not buying one. This is a waste of time. We're either doing it or we're not. And finally, I am generally not the impulsive one, but I was impulsive. I found an RV on Craigslist and I said, we're going to go see it. We walked into it. I liked it. He had a truck for sale too. I said, all right, we're buying it. And we did. We didn't even have a place to live in it yet. But I was just so done talking about it and wasting time talking about it. Like, we've got to take action. And I did that with my business too. Like, I kept saying, oh, I know I can make an online business. I know I can. And talking about it, but not doing it. Well, now finally I'm doing it.
Yeah, obviously we're here right now. That's interesting because no one goes RV shopping on a consistent basis. It's just not something you do. Like, maybe there is a Facebook group, RV shoppers.
There's actually a lot of Facebook groups
for RV. But like, people, they actually probably buy them though. People don't,
Well, yeah, I guess. I mean, a lot of people do dream about the lifestyle.
Yeah.
And like, there are a couple people who are making businesses all about the RV lifestyle.
Nice.
And families living the RV lifestyle and, running a business out of the RV and yada, yada, yada.
Well, get rid of the show Little Houses and they should have the show RV, RV life.
Yeah, for sure. It's just so much easier and cheaper. RVs, generally speaking, are cheaper than a tiny house. There's a lot of logistics to it. I won't go into it.
Hey, no property taxes either.
Yeah. But you got to live in a state. Like, if you want to be semi-permanent, you have to live in a state that allows it. We don't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What states allow that, of, like the few that allow for it to be permanent, semi-permanent?
You know what? I don't know.
Okay.
Just not where we are.
Okay. Gotcha.
We had to leave the campground we were in, and that set off a cascade of craziness where we had nowhere to go, and we were at my parents' house for a while, and our house was still getting rented, and it was a disaster.
I gotcha. We'll have it on the next pod. We'll have it on the next, show.
Yeah, I should just do an episode about it or something.
I'd love to hear about it. Not for like, but like, that'd be interesting just to hear the path. Cause I bet you're not obviously the only one that went through that.
Yeah, I'm sure. And let me tell you, cold showers. Do you do cold showers?
No.
All right.
I interviewed someone that did, they called it the warrior shower.
Okay.
But they hadn't paid their heat bill, and that's how they explained to their like 5 or 6 year old child at the time, like, this is why we're taking a cold shower. But it was a fascinating story. But I have heard that cold showers are actually good for you.
Yeah. And you haven't had a cold shower if you haven't had a cold shower in the RV in the winter. It is nothing like having a cold shower in your house. It's like an ice bath.
No, thanks. My bones already hurt as it is.
But that's totally another episode. So let's get back to your school story.
Yes.
So I think I had asked you, like, how did you? Oh yeah, your wife. Your wife got you off your butt.
Yep.
And moving forward back into entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
So what do you do now? Like, daily habits, rituals that keep you going? Because it gets hard and it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
No. I never really considered myself an entrepreneur until, in the last few years, because I'm like, okay, I started a business, got X amount of thousands of customers and, employees. And I'm like, I'm a business owner. And I'll sit there, I'll there's been a few times this year where, I've faltered and I've, fallen to the trap or, just getting out of a routine. And fortunately, my wife can kind of see that a little more in advance now. And I'm able to actually pick up on it before I sit there and, make a bad choice. So I think having a routine is a good thing. It doesn't make you dull, doesn't make you boring. I think it makes you productive and successful. I mean, think about it. When you get up in the morning, we're okay with having the routine of getting up, using the restroom, going to the bathroom, going to the refrigerator, opening it up and but we do the same thing over and over again. And we're okay with that. Now, if we do that in what we feel is our personal life, we're like, well, wait a minute, I'm boring, I'm predictable, I'm doing this. You're already doing it, like literally already doing it. And you've just made it okay, because for me, it's been 41 years of doing it. And so like certain parts of my daily routine, I accepted that decades ago. So why is it as an entrepreneur? Why is it as a creator, I wouldn't do that in other aspects of my life and just make that a habit and continue to do that? So I think really, to be honest with you, I hear people that are like, nope, I get up every morning without an alarm, this, that, or the other. That's not me. Like, there are times when I can't sleep and I'll get up in the middle of the night and I'll just go into my work office and I'll just start working. And my wife will come in. She'll be like, oh, I see you've been up all night. And I mean, that's okay. But for most mornings, like, I set my alarm, I get up and we do the same thing. I hear my wife's meditation thing start. So her alarm probably goes off about 4:30. And then we try to spend a little bit of time together and not really talking. It might be a back scratch, or it might just be like sitting there, just having a quiet moment, but knowing that both of us are right there. And then from there, it's coffee and getting the dog out. And, I'll be honest with you, I get on social media once, like, the cobwebs are out. I get on social media. I try to get a lot of social media stuff done and out of the way. And that doesn't mean about 3 or 4 months ago, I didn't get off of social media, but I stopped putting out personal stuff for myself. I've got, people that do it for the business and that I'm a part of, and I'm in those videos and I'm in those things, but more or less doing it for myself. And it was strategically, but I am getting and trying to add value and comment and learn from other people on social media, and going to their platforms and listening to what they have to say. So I get on there and I try to get that done, because when I get home, I need to make sure, where I was making a huge mistake was I wasn't shutting it off. I was continuing the routine of working, but not working on myself and not working on my house life. And so once that bell hits, there will be times when, my wife and my, my son know that, hey, okay, it's 8:00 and yes, I'm going to get some stuff done. But I try to separate that by getting up extra early and setting that routine to get my day going.
Yeah, I love what Jocko says. Discipline equals freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Have you read the book?
I haven't.
Oh, it's great. And I mean, it's a 5-minute read, and it's beautifully done and whatever. But I think it's so true that when you really have a routine to ground yourself in, doesn't mean you can't break it once in a while if you're making that conscious decision. But it's that routine that you can keep coming back to that keeps you going.
Yeah.
Sometimes I look at like, just in our mastermind group, for example, people are like always commenting on each other's social media stuff, which is great support. But I'm thinking to myself, how the heck do you have time to do that? Now, their lives are probably structured different than mine. Mm-hmm. I'm with my kids most of the day. And when I'm not with my kids, I'm with my clients. And when I'm not with one of those two things, it's really pretty much time to go to bed. So I definitely need to be more purposeful about building in a supportive social media time. Don't know when it's going to get done, but I do have to figure that out. But I don't know how people find the time to do that.
Yeah, I think it's different for everybody. I think we should realize and respect that everyone's household is going to work differently. Some have already built the wealth. Some have independent wealth. Some don't have children. Some don't have spouses or a partner. And so their time can be structured completely different from yours, mine, and theirs. And so saying that that's okay is absolutely saying, hey, some people, this is where their priority was, and it doesn't make theirs any more right than where our priority is.
Yeah, and then I think it goes back to a lot of what I've been hearing you've been saying, not in these words, but just listening to these stories that everyone around us tells us that our business has to look like, or our life has to look like, and it doesn't. Like, you define your life, you define your success, you define your happiness, and you just do it. You do you.
Do you, boo?
Yeah. So I guess, how do you define that for yourself? Success, happiness? Like, what do you want your life to look like?
Happiness and success really started getting even better when I started focusing on my family. And this year has been a life changer for that, because it could have gone the other way, where happiness and success wasn't with being able to be around them. So I made a lot of changes this year and could have gone the wrong way. I just had a supportive wife and a supportive son that continued to stay by my side. Success going forward is, when it comes to business, is making sure that they're a part of it, that they know what's going on with it. And that's why I'm working with my wife on building this new chapter. And it's super exciting, as you know, she's been along for everything that's been built to date, but now she has actual direct impact on it. So it's allowing them to be along on the journey and making sure that along the way, like, I actually take care of myself health wise. And in turn, by doing that, like, I'm taking care of them health wise and seeing what's best for them. So money will be the product that comes out of all the hard work and the time that's gone into it. The success is because of the people and making sure you have those right pieces, that if you can afford, or you can have someone, or you can give them some form of equity ownership to take something off of your plate, it's worth it, because it'll free your time up to have a healthier mindset as opposed to taking everything on. Did that answer your question?
Yeah. No, I think that was a great answer. So who were your influencers? And I guess if you can, as you answer this, keep in mind, who were your influencers that would also appeal to, say, families with teens or teenagers who were a lot like you, like just feeling like school wasn't the thing for them. They want a different path, college or no college, either way. But like, how do the people you follow fit into that?
Yeah. If we're talking about like the people that you follow, because I guess today everything is social media on there, and who you looked at and who you looked up to, or who I modeled after. It really started probably in my banking days, following the mentors from that, like the Brent Duhaimes, who you've met and
Yeah.
and seeing how their hard work moved forward. So it wasn't actually directly through social media, because until about 2 years ago, I really didn't have a social media presence and didn't really focus on social media whatsoever. YouTube was used to learn if I needed to know how to do tile work or do something to the car. So now I go to YouTube to learn and find certain influencers there. I would sit there and say, in the circle that I'm in right now, and because that's been in the last 2 years, it's really Travis Chappell. And it took me some time to get over the fact that I'm probably 15 years his senior. Even though if you didn't know his age, you'd be like, nah, he's in his late 30s. Travis Chappell and the people that I've been afforded to get to be around, an individual by the name of Charlie that I got to meet through Steve Sims and going to prison. She's just an amazing person. And Charlie's last name escapes me right now, but yeah, I mean, I don't know who that one person or those people that have shaped where I'm at, because I think if you came back to me in 12 months, the answer was definitely going to continue to look differently, because of the journey and the road that's ahead. But yeah, I mean, I guess I would sit there and say Travis is, probably one of the ones that I've focused on the most on who you know.
Yeah. Isn't it crazy that you and I are learning from and taking advice from people half our age?
Yeah.
Like,
not half our age. Come on.
Okay. All right. Not half our age. Okay. Yeah. Not half, but still, like, my coach is, I can't remember how old he is, but he's considerably younger than I am. And I'm pretty sure my social media guy is too. And most of the people I'm learning from really are considerably younger than I am.
Yeah, I wouldn't have expected that I would be okay with that. 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I would not have been okay with that. I would have just been a stubborn mule.
Yeah. And sometimes it's hard to realize, like, my gosh, these people, and at least in my case, they're making more money than I am.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting here like, okay, I'm taking advice from them. And I do wholeheartedly, because I know they know what they're doing and they've proven themselves that they know what they're doing. But man, like, I'm getting on this bandwagon pretty late.
Yeah, but I thought the same thing. I'm like, shit, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Or I'm like, well, crap. If I'm learning from people that are 10, 15 years my junior, Like they're so far ahead of the game. I don't even know if they know how far ahead of the game that they are. But if I sit there, all I'm doing is making excuses. Like if I'm like, they're too young. Can I really learn anything? Like, what do they know? Then I'm just deciding to get in my own way and saying, like, I'm making excuses. Like Steve Sims, for example, like Steve's learning from people, more than half his age, and he's okay with it. I'm like, well, look who his clientele and look what he's done. So getting out of your own way, I think, is really important. And recognizing, that's another thing. Like we're fortunate, we're still super fortunate. Think about it. What if we had been bamboozled or swindled or whatever on who's teaching us X, Y, and Z? We haven't. So we're the lucky ones. And not everyone. Some people invest and put time and money into people, half age, whatever age, doesn't matter, and it doesn't pay off. That's a scary thought in itself.
How do you recommend getting out of your own way to a young person, to a family of young people, and really even just to me? Like, I know I'm still struggling with getting out of my own way.
Yeah.
I think we're always still struggling, like, and probably should always be still struggling with that. But where do you start?
Yeah, well, comfort kills. So the minute that you're comfortable, you've probably already been dead. And so getting uncomfortable, I think, is super key. You don't want to do it to the detriment of sacrificing your family, your time. But you've got to recognize that and genuinely get uncomfortable and put yourself in difficult situations. If it's going into a crowded room of people and striking up a conversation, if, whatever that looks like, thrive. Some people, I guarantee you there are people there that are not comfortable with a room of that many people. I know I'm one of them.
Me too.
You're one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you do it. So I think getting uncomfortable. From there, man, surrounding yourself with just people that aren't going to be yes sayers. If your spouse is a yes sayer, I can tell you, I would have married the wrong person. I dated a lot of yes sayers, and there's probably a reason why. I'm glad that didn't work out. Now, hey, my wife is a huge cheerleader, for what I've done, what I'm going to do. She just sent me a really great text today that was how excited she was on something. And I'm just like, hell yeah. But at the same time, she's going to keep me grounded and sit there and be like, is this really the right decision? And so I think you need to have people that will challenge your thoughts and what you want to build and grow and do around you.
Yeah. And, that's so hard because we want to be comfortable. I'm way out of my comfort zone, and I have been for months. And then I had a breakdowns, exaggerating it, but I definitely had a breakdown the last month or two where I lost all momentum. I was stuck in this crazy cycle of anxiety. Here I am, the coach who helps teens with their ADHD and anxiety. I was stuck in this cycle of anxiety, and I was still showing up to my clients, and I think I was still showing up to them well and doing what they needed, but I lost all momentum in my personal life and my business life. Like that was really all I could muster. I'm back on track, but I think we all need to remember, like, all right, again, you screw up, get back on track.
Yeah, I think that happens to, I'm going to sit there and say it's happened to me. It'll continue to happen to me. And again, it's having the right structure and everything. So it's easier to get back on that horse and ride that pony through town. And then as opposed to, it's 6 or 12 months down the road and just like, well, shit, where do I even begin again? All right, you know what? I'm not going to. So having those routines consistently there, they're going to break. But the more that you have structured like that, the easier it's able to get back on that horse.
Yeah. Every moment is the perfect moment to begin again.
Mm-hmm.
I just posted that on social media the other day.
I like it. Where'd you post it? Was it Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter?
I think it was Instagram and Facebook.
Okay.
Those are the only two ones I use.
It wasn't on TikTok.
I don't even know what that is.
Oh, you've heard of it. Come on now.
No, well, okay. Someone did mention it the other day, but I really don't know what it is.
Okay.
So any words of advice to kids who are struggling with school, feeling like it's something they just don't want to do, or their families who are dealing with a kid in that situation?
Yeah. And I can say this, to the families that are having a kid in school that are, on that standpoint, that I'm not the foremost expert because I only have a 5-year-old. But we've had some struggles, and our kid's smart, but when he's switched schools, there's that adjustment period. So I can't imagine what it's going to be like when my son's 16, 17, 18. So it's okay. It's okay to have those struggles. It's how we react to them and how we handle those situations that are really going to define not only us as parents, but also define our children and how they see us and how they want to grow. So I think, if you're reactionary, I'm a huge reactionary person. My emotions a lot of the time are on my sleeve, but the less reactionary we are when those bumps in the road happen as a parent, I think the better. You're going to show your kid that you care, but you're not going to show your kid that you want to yell. And you're not going to show your kid that you don't love them. So that would be from maybe the parental side. And parents that are already going through it or have gone through it, please don't be angry with me for my answer. That's as best as I can answer it at this age with the cards that I have in front of me. Students, kids, teenagers, whatever age that is, again, it's okay. Don't lie to yourself. Don't lie to your family and sit there and make an excuse out of it, though. Because at the end of the day, there's going to come that period where we will solely be responsible for ourselves and our actions, and we can't sit back and blame mom and dad. So the sooner that we come to grasp with that and know that we are responsible for the actions that we take, we might make some smarter ones. We're going to still make some stupid ones because, boy, I've made some really stupid decisions in all 4 decades that I've lived in, and that's made me who I am today. So it's okay to make mistakes. But if school's not for you, finish what you have to, get as much out of it as you can, literally suck everything out of it that it is worth, that you can utilize to springboard yourself to what that the next thing is. And use it for the time. You don't have most children don't have to pay for the house that's over their head, for the meal that's on their table. Not all children. Obviously, there are some children out there that don't have that fortune, but the ones that do, take advantage of it. It's the easiest time of our life at that point. It really is. What responsibility do we have? Okay, I had to work, when I was a teenager, and that's okay, but it wasn't responsibility. Take advantage of whatever free education system or whatever's out there. Doesn't mean that has to define you or that's what you want to do, and start building a plan now.
That is amazing. I have never had anyone say, okay, even if it sucks, there's still some benefits there. Take it, use it, get your hands on anything you can. I love that. Usually you hear people are like, all right, school's great. This is what you do. Or you hear the other end is it doesn't matter at all. Just forget about it. But I just really love your perspective. I think that's really valuable.
Thank you.
Yeah.
In 13 years, it might change. We'll see.
I'm sure it's changing every day, but thank you. Thank you for taking your time to be here.
Absolutely.
Can you tell us where people can find you in case they want to?
Yeah, if you want to find me, you can go to Facebook, Brandon Straza, or, Real Naked Agent on Facebook. You can also find me on Instagram at Real Naked Agent. I've been posting a lot of content, but I've been posting and replying on other people's content out there. When you have a handle as Real Naked Agent, you're going to get some interesting ones behind the scene on your inbox that you don't always want. But please reach out to me that way. And then from there, if you want to email me for any questions, and this is not insurance related, but I'll give you one of my business emails that I obviously check most frequently. It's Brandon at American OIG. That's O as an option, I as an insurance, G as in group.com. If you have any questions out there, no, I'm not asking for your insurance business, but just if you have questions, I love seeing other people succeed, and boy, I don't have the answers to everything, but usually I know people like Carrie or Travis or other people that might have those answers. So I love connecting people like that.
And your podcast.
Yeah, podcast. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now other people are going to be mad. So Breaking Business Barriers is our podcast. And we've been changing it up a little bit to where we kind of individually do some interviews as business lives and personal lives have gotten super, super busy. So but yeah, Breaking Business Barriers, the podcast. But no, I appreciate you having me. I know that we've gone back and forth so many times. Started talking about this in the summer in Vegas, and I'll be back in Vegas next weekend, I think, something like that. So, yeah.
Well, thank you again for being here. Thanks for, dealing with all of my reschedulings too.
Don't worry about it.
Life, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, as Forrest Gump had on the bumper sticker, shit happens.
That is very true. But we keep going.
Exactly. I appreciate it, Carrie, and I hope that your little one is feeling well.
Thank you very
All right.
much.
Thanks.
Bye.